to The Last Standee, a board game podcast coming to you from 3 exciting countries right here in the European Union. I am joined from Germany by Cara.
Hello.
And from France, it's Audrey.
Hi, everyone.
And from Sweden, it's me, Fen. Hello, hi. So we've got some more things to talk about. Gonna very briefly talk about the Leviathan Wilds Deep Vale expansion, which arrived just this week. I'm also going to talk about Tales from the Red Dragon Inn, which is a heck of a mouthful. I keep struggling with that. Cara, you're going to talk to us about a mystery dinner party, a crime dinner party?
Yeah. I should have looked up how it's translated, actually. I always say crime dinner party, but I'll look it up until we get there.
Yeah, well, it sounds might be like a murder mystery. And Audrey, you're going to talk to us about Anachrony, aren't you? A game that I have on my shelf and keep meaning to take off and play.
Yes.
Right, okay, great. But before we do that, let's have the catch-up. So, Audrey, how have things been with you?
I'm not going to, take too much of that time because quite a bit of things have been going strangely bad and good, and it's so much of a mixed bag that I don't really know where I stand. To cut it short, I had my summer holidays, went to see the family. Someone in the family passed away. We hadn't seen her much in a long while, so it didn't affect us too much, but we still had to go to the funeral, of course, which let me see a few family members that I hadn't seen in a long while, which was a good thing, so yeah, mixed bag. Walks in the mountain, which is okay, except when you go late and it's cloudy and it's cold, so yeah. LARPing, which was overall okay, but I was lost in quite a few things and still struggling to get grips with the rules and how you roleplay when you feel that something is limited by the rules and no one else seems to be bothered by that. And lots of Marvel Champions play thanks to your advice during the holidays. My husband and I are finally, getting comfortable with everything. And I think at a point we will have to look into which additions to our collections might be the most worthwhile after going for Factor of Cool, and we love these characters. So now being like, mechanics can be interesting with that. And I think it's like a big world ahead of us.
Yeah, well, maybe sometime we make a recording of it and just chat about Marvel Champions, and I can go through basically everything because I've got all of them, which... That in itself is a bit of a tricky thing with Fantasy Flight declaring they're going to be retiring some of the stuff. It's it's not so bad if you get them in non-English, and Europe seems to be less affected, but America seems to be just struggling to find Captain America and Doctor Strange and everything, which is, it's weird.
Yeah. We can definitely either plan a game or a recording or a recorded game. We can see what fits our schedule at a point.
Yeah.
Cara, what news do you have for us?
Well, I just noticed again the big thing that's in my mind currently is...
I love your glasses! Sorry.
I love them too. Thank you.
Amazing. Sorry for cutting you.
It's very fitting. It's ADHD, the big topic. So that was perfect. Because right now I was listening to you two, and suddenly Fan said something about America, and I thought, wait, didn't you just talk about board games? Why are you at politics now? And my brain is a mess. But I'm getting work done thanks to medication. Yay. And I'm not sure where I wanted to go with this. Anyway, I'm doing fine in general. I don't get around to play board games at all somehow.
Oh no.
Yeah, it's like I do spend a lot of time working. Not as much as I had previously, thanks to now being able to concentrate on work when I work. But it's still, when I'm done with work for the day, I'm usually too exhausted to do a lot. So I'm busy with, just housework and watching TV and chatting with my partner. And then when I have a free weekend, I'm visiting my partner. So last time I actually brought a few two-player games, but we didn't get around to try them. I'm still trying to figure out if board games are something my partner is interested in. So yeah, I'll see how that develops in the future. Apart from that, new school year, stress, work. I have a cute dog. She's still very cute. She's learning to be a school dog. And I'll just ask Fen what's up.
Well, ask the person after you brag about your dog and being a school dog, and I've got the world's worst little mutt. Just doesn't obey anything.
Oh, Pam's cute.
She is cute, and it's not her fault she is the way she is. She's a street dog. She was horribly abused as a pup, and that's messed her up.
Does she give paw at least?
Oh, yeah. She'll give paw with extreme prejudice as an attempt to get anything from you.
So it's like my cat. He gives paw, but only if we have a treat in the hand.
No, and from my experience, Pam is giving 2 paws without you asking her to give them.
Yes.
So.
Yeah. Up on her hind paws and both paws out. Yeah. Anyway, so you said like Leviathan Wilds just arrived. I've had a really busy time trying to get ahead of everything that I need to be ahead of, because there's like 5 Kickstarters all shipping somewhere around now. And typically I clear the desk, get ahead, and I'm like, I won't start a new cycle of Aeon Trespass right now because, I've got a load of notes to write up for the previous cycles, and suddenly I'm sat there with like no shipping notices. The classic Europe problem where you look at people in America and Australia, and they've all received their stuff, and you're like, huh? So yeah. But apart from that, it's been a lot of work. Like the garden has finally finished growing, so it's that period where you just kind of deal with everything. We're having to be really. We've got like, they're not, dandelions, like they're the weed with the flower that then turns into like the puffball seeds that blow around.
Yeah, I have a lot of those in my garden.
Yeah, we've got versions that are like, they're really tall. They're not. But we have the normal, like, shorter ones, but these really tall ones. And the neighbours have a fairly, like, fallow area for their, like, they own both sides of the road. And we're not really sure what they do with this space, which is fine. It's mostly empty. But it is infested with these things, and they've been gradually creeping towards us as the wind blows them down. So I've had to, like, pull so many of them out of the ground recently, because otherwise they just take over. Which is fun, and our robo-mower keeps getting stuck and digging holes in the garden, which is great. So it's very slow gardening work. That's mostly what I'm doing. Beyond the board game stuff, I have not had much chance to paint. I've got the Poison Partisan, I can't remember her name, on my desk.
Oh, Rikita.
Yes, yeah. One of the models that makes me wish the original Silk Armor models were a bit better, because it's very nice. But
I participated in the painting relay in the Lantern Drain Discord, where you send an unpainted model to someone, they paint it and ship it to someone else, which is a very fun thing. But apparently my package was in my letterbox yesterday, and it's nowhere to be found.
Oh no. Oh, that's terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's it. It makes a change. I don't wish this on you, but it makes a change. It's not me talking about having problems with packages for once. Last time I talked with Cara, and the devastation that had occurred to about 100 magic cards was a thing to behold.
Yes,
I'll show
I
on the
remember.
webcam what I am painting. I hope it shows enough, and I hope the color scheme will, let's say, evoke some stuff to some people.
I don't have the webcams turned on. I can't.
Yeah, I'm showing that. Yeah.
No.
Sorry.
I can't see them at all. I changed some settings. I'm gonna sound like one of those people who's no idea what's going on. I don't know how the webcams aren't on and I can't turn them back on.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. I'd love to see it. I'm sure I'll get to see it at some point. But we really should get on with the board games. So, first of all, very quickly, do either of you have Leviathan Wilds, or are you aware of it?
I'm aware of it.
Aware of it.
Okay, so for those people not, very brief primer. It is a climbing boss battler where you put two halves of decks together to build the characters. It is like all about climbing around all these huge creatures, Shadow of the Colossus style, that have been infected by these like crystals, and you're just sort of smashing the crystals while the out of control creature tries to get you off it and slap you around. And they come in the form of this book, like a spiral bound book, and each double page spread has a particular Leviathan on it for you to play, and they'll have their own special rules. It's really good. It's completely unique within the world of boss battlers in that it is a vertical one. Verticality does matter, even though you play, it's flat on the board. But in fact, I bet if someone else made this, you'd have giant.
I'm sorry, Fen. I'm sorry, I have to cut you, but we already recorded Leviathan Wilds.
I know we did, but I'm just describing like the basis. I'm not going into all the mechanics.
Yes, that's why that was ringing a bell at the point. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I've written reviewed it as well. Anyway, so that's what I really like about it. It's kind of unique, and it plays in an evening, and it's very fun and cooperative in a bunch of interesting ways, and also endlessly replayable despite the small scale. So, an expedition into Deep Vale arrived, and I have broken it out and had a go at it, and it's really nice that they did this second Kickstarter, and it's kind of so restrained what I've got. The box is half the size of the original box in thickness. It's mostly extraneous packing. They've justified the insert by saying you can decide how you want to lay it out between these two boxes. There's no way I can put everything in one box because of the spiral binding. That's not really possible. But it's really cool. It's got an extra climber, a bunch of new Leviathans, and the game's every bit as good as it ever has been. It's just a really nice, small-scale quality production. So if you do have Leviathan Wilds, I think this is great to pick up. If you don't have Leviathan Wilds, you really should try and watch a video or two about it, watch some play of it, because it is really interesting. It's not as heavily cooperative and set up as what I'm going to talk about in a moment, but it's kind of fascinating how this climbing mechanic plays out with the falling and everything. It's really cool. So it's a good expansion. It's just, if you wanted more of it, it's more of it. It doesn't do anything I felt that was too ridiculous or new or overly complicated, but it's very welcome and satisfying. So, Tales from the Red Dragon Inn. So, have either of you seen Red Dragon Inn before from Slugfest Games?
That rings a bell. Maybe it was discussed in a catch-up or something.
So the original game is a Munchkin in quotation style of game where you play each person takes a role of a hero who's returned after an adventure at the Red Dragon Inn, and everybody's drinking and gambling, and basically the winner is the person who stays sober the longest or doesn't go bankrupt compared to everyone else. That's it. You drink too many drinks, you pass out, you lose all your money, you're done as well. and it's a fun game. It's clearly very popular. I used to own it. It's one of those games that I had to shed when moving to Sweden. I don't really miss it, but I also think in the take that Munchkin genre, it's kind of pretty good. I think that the fact that you've got 2 axes to take players out and it's fast enough that if you get eliminated, it's not too much of a big deal. But this is instead, it's taking the what happens between the times in the inn, the drinking, and instead it's now going and expanded out into the dungeon crawl section, which kind of I never really thought they'd do. And if you'd asked me, I wouldn't have predicted it. And also, if you'd asked me if I think it was good, I would have said probably it's like light and simple, and most dungeon crawlers kind of tend to fail. On complexity, a lot of dungeon crawlers still fall in that move attack, and then monsters run towards you slowly or shoot at you from a distance, and they're kind of a bit simple. Gloomhaven has changed a fair bit, but we're not there yet with many dungeon crawlers. And well, I was kind of wrong. I'd have been wrong to say. So this is a biggish box game. It's got a tiny flavour of Gloomhaven or Oathsworn in that it says to you, don't look at the stuff coming ahead, open each chapter as and when you reach it. But it's not really hiding anything too much. It's like quite sort of mild spoilers. You could easily organise everything in advance if you wanted to. It's not a legacy game. The secrets are just a little bit of fun, and it doesn't really matter for replayability. So, it's just... it's like Oathsworn, What's in the box? It's this. So the game's got a bunch of fold-out maps, which are, I think, like A3 ish, something like that, maybe A2. They're quite big, not very thick. They're thickish paper, but they're not cardboard. That's one of the things I'm a little about, because you know how it is if you're 2 pieces of paper, you fold, unfold, fold, unfold, eventually they just give on the hinge. Yeah, so that's something, if this game gets played a lot, it could be a problem, and I don't think it really would have hurt them to not print like a bunch of boards instead, but I guess, they decided this was the most cost effective. You get a load of cards for covering initiative, character abilities, starting equipment. You get a bunch of dice, custom dice for the game, a bunch of initiative / damage cards, which they're quite interesting. When I walk through the flow of a turn, I'll just explain how they work. And then books for each chapter. And best of all, you've got a nice walkthrough that takes you through the first 4 scenarios, and gradually introduces the mechanics and the complexity and everything, and provides examples and lets you still make decisions. It's just a really good walkthrough that I think is fantastic. And then they have a reference manual, so once you know what you're doing, you don't need that anymore. You can just look at the flow of the turn, which is printed on each of the maps, and then check anything specific in the reference manual. So it's like a really well put together learning system, which I really liked. I didn't feel like the first time I played Gloomhaven, I was like, oh my goodness, I have to completely rethink how I'm playing, and I hate this. I don't hate Gloomhaven anymore, but it's got a way better introductory curve than that. Yeah. Okay, so how it works is you will open up the given chapter, you'll grab the first scenario map, you'll put it out there. It's got a bunch of hexes. That's why often people compare to Gloomhaven, which I think is fair enough. Not enough dungeon crawlers use hexagons. I really do think they're great for movement. You can also do offset squares. If you move a row of squares half across, you've technically got hexagons, except they're square shaped. So there's no excuse for people who want to do square grids. Then people will pick their characters. So you've got 6 of the characters from Red Dragon Inn. There's Deirdre the cleric, Eve the illusionist, Fiona the fighter, Gurki is the rogue, Gog is half ogre barbarian, and Zot is, I think, quite a fan favourite character. He's a wizard with an aggressive, hard to control attack rabbit called Pookie.
Nice.
Yes, Pookie's great. These all come with a miniature, but the rest of the foes are in standee form. I think you can buy an extra box that contains some of the bosses printed from the site. I did have a look, but they're located in America, and getting anything from America right now is very tough. It's a bit of a mess.
And it's going to get worse.
Yes, it is, yeah. So once you've got your character, you have a little mat that gives you your hit points and some abilities, and they tell you whether they cost an action or a... what's it called? What's the word? It's a shenanigan. So either you have an action which is green, or you have a shenanigan. You have, in a turn, 2 actions and 1 shenanigan, but you can also use an action to shenanigan. I'm going to reference them as green and red, because it's just easier that way, because otherwise shenanigan is a heck of a word to keep saying. You get a little initiative token, a couple of starting things. You have a power tree that you start using as you get further in. I'm not really going to go into that in much detail. It just gives you some extra tokens that you can use, and you get a little figure. The hero mat also, which I really like, is double-sided. So the front side, once you've taken the number of wounds, damage equal to the number, you clear all of it off, including any excess, and you flip over, and you've got a wounded side, which actually changes your character's ability slightly. For example, Deirdre on the front side has a shenanigan, a red, that lets her move, called Elven Grace, I think it is. And most of the other characters can't move without using an action, so she's very mobile, but once she's wounded and flipped over, she has to spend an action to move, and she limps about. So it's really interesting thematics of characters suddenly having a second way they play, which isn't too far from their starting one, but a little. I think it's very cool. And then you've got, like on there, you'll have printed some static abilities you can always use. Like Fiona has a power attack, which can hit one target quite hard and possibly splash damage some adjacent ones. She can move for 5, or she can invigorate. Invigorate's a very interesting mechanic. So all of these skill cards that you get, they either they have a limited number of charges for the whole scenario. Like Deirdre has a lot that have 3 charges, and once you've used them all up, you can't do that again. Or they have like a cooldown, and when you activate one, you'll put a number of hourglasses onto the card to indicate it's cooling down, and it'll cool down at the start of each round, removing a token, or you can spend an action to speed up getting that back. So it's like Divinity 2, that has a cooldown within it as well when you use skills. I always think it's interesting, especially with players having options to slow down. So like, for example, Fiona's, one of hers is it's a move and an attack in one thing, and it's got a cooldown of, I think it's 3 or 4. I don't have the card in front of me. I have a very small image of the card, and I can't read the number. Anyway, and then you'll also have a major item and a minor item. For example, Fiona will have a pot lid to start with, which gives her 1 block token that allows her to soak a little bit of damage. And then you might get potions or whatever consumables to your other item. You have options to choose how to do it. That's kind of it, really. Like, I could hand a character to you and say, you spend this, flip this over to do any of these, flip this over to do these, and decide what you want to do. They're very, very straightforward to get to grips with. But the really neat stuff is in the enemies. So they're called schemers. They roll a scheme dice, which you invigorate all abilities at the start of a round, so that's like everything cools down, and then you roll your scheme dice, which is 1 dice for each of the monsters, and the monsters have their cards printed on the map that you're playing on, so you can always see them, and you can see what they're going to do in advance, which is honestly, like, you could look at it as being an advantage, but like Oathsworn does the same thing, and it's interesting how it goes from being a potential struggle, and suddenly you get blindsided by the monsters doing something you didn't expect them to do, and you're out of position, you're in trouble, to instead looking and going, I know what these guys are going to do, how can we take advantage of that? And so the characters sort of interact with each other and handle things, and it becomes very, very, I'm going to say, crunchy. It's very smart. I'm impressed with how rich the combat feels compared to some dungeon crawlers that I played. As much as I love them, they just don't have this wide range of abilities. This, if I go here, then I know this monster's going to come at the fighter instead. That's great because I'm injured or I need a little time, or okay, we need this emergency ability, I'll invigorate to use it. It's really sweet. And yeah, that's the only other bit that really is every group of monsters has their own set of cards. When you set up an area, you will be told draw X number of cards for the given monster type. The thing they do is they match the standee number. They determine the order they all act in, so lowest first, up and up, and also the cards once they're out, you track the damage on the cards. So it's very clean and easy to look and go, okay, that's like malfunction robot number 1, and it's taken 2 damage. So if I deal it 2 more damage, boom, it's done, it's dead. Very clean and easy to follow. The bit that kind of might catch you off guard is you have an initiative bag and there's a token in there for each of the heroes and each of the monster colours, and that can be quite... It's just enough spice in there. It's just enough of like a ooh to really make me feel like I played a scenario yesterday and it literally came down to looking at it and we're like, we can win this if Eve gets to go before the great grey monsters, or if we can clear the last couple of things and protect her. And she came out of the bag first, and that was like really a fun moment of just, hooray. Yeah, it's so... played like 2 to start with, and then went up to 3, and I reckon 2 players could easily handle all 4 characters out on the board at once. It's a lot just more fun. More characters on the board is more fun, and also really exciting part is sometimes the scenarios you don't have to kill every enemy. It's like kill certain enemies and survive till the end of that round to the objective phase, and you clear the scenario, which it just works really well. So that's kind of in the basics. We won't be getting into any serious details. I think this is a genuinely really good game. I'm so happy we picked up a copy of the reprint and I've gotten to play it, because it's helped identify the bits of Frosthaven and Gloomhaven I didn't like so much, and one of them is definitely the enemy AI deck, which I find very frustrating in Frosthaven, because you just don't know what they're going to do, and sometimes they can just totally mess you up, or they just reshuffle and then you're back to square one of not being able to track what they're doing. I love this, with it laying out in front and still managing to be a challenge. So yeah, it's silly, it's fun, it's surprisingly deep for the aesthetic. Yeah, that's kind of it, really.
Yeah, but that sounds good. It's very nice because we have had, not now anymore, but let's say 2015, 2020, a kind of golden age of dungeon crawler.
Yeah.
And it's past now, definitely, but we can still see some elements that were extracted from this, and the best of the worlds. I think it's not a bad moment if we are looking for quality and for specific things.
Yeah, this is... I think this is something special. I think it deserves the fairly high praise it gets and still holds. It came out in 2023. And because it was a Kickstarter, first of all, I was concerned about, I bought this on Kickstarter, so I'm going to score it high effect that you see on ratings. But no, it's rated an 8.4 on Board Game Geek, and you know what? I think that is, between an 8 and a 9 for definite. And I appreciate as well that they didn't go overboard on the miniatures, and it's quite beneficial to play with the miniatures for the heroes and then standees for all the monsters. It does, for one, I don't have to paint things. I don't feel obligated to paint things, but also it does help with readability quite a bit.
Yeah, if I may comment on the miniatures, it's not on the same game, but for Midara, they have been doing mostly standees from the start, but lately they have been either sharing or selling STL files of other miniatures, which I think is very smart point.
Yeah.
That way, the people that want their miniature get the STL, find a way to print it, more and more people have it, and have it in a budget way, and else you have your standees. And I think, yeah, miniatures for the players and standees for the enemies is a very good starting point.
Yeah, the miniatures in this are like, they're fine. They're I'd say around Descent 2nd edition in quality, with a more cartoony look, which suits the simpler scale, you know, because it's a very cartoony world. So yeah, that's I would quite like it if they did decide to do STL prints of things, or I'm sure maybe someone has started designing some. Yeah, if I was gonna, as one thing I will criticise, as I'm just looking at and being reminded, the game has traps. These traps are either deployed in preset positions, or sometimes the enemies create them with their attacks. So many of the traps deal 2 points of damage, especially the first bunch of scenarios. It's 2-point traps. You don't get a 2-point damage token, so you have to put 2 ones on it, which is just, if you're going to deal damage in increments of 2, just give us some 2s as well. It's annoying to have 2 ones on there, and they just kind of it's fiddly. They're small. I do like how it works though. Is once you step on the trap's removed, and you just tip the damage points onto whatever triggered the trap. And they went interestingly with enemies that can be pushed into traps and can't be pushed into traps quite early on, which I thought was a nice teaching moment of saying, hey, sometimes you can shove these guys into traps or pull them into them, but sometimes you can't because they're a blob. Yeah. So, I think if you see it there and you have a chance to play it, I definitely think give it a go, because it is, I'm very impressed with it. I haven't played with Pookie yet. I haven't played Pookie and Zot. Pookie's a bit hard to control, but apparently you roll dice to see what he's going to do every round. But I love that rabbit. That's it. That's unless you guys have any other questions, that's Tales from the Red Dragon Inn. Recommendation. I think it's really fun. One of the best dungeon crawlers I've played in a while.
Yeah, it sounds pretty cool. And it looks pretty cool.
Yeah. It doesn't take up a lot of space. Big box, but just the one box, which is nice. Anyway, okay, so Cara, do tell us all about your. Have you worked it out? Is it a crime dinner or a murder mystery?
So apparently there are both translations, but I think more common is murder mystery. So short background story. A couple years ago, I gifted a friend of mine a murder mystery box for his birthday, and there was the agreement that when he plays it, of course I'm invited. He never played it, and so he never got around to it, and then they got kids, and now they have 3 kids, and the box is somewhere hidden behind kids stuff. So I figured, basically this year I just had this epiphany, I can just host one myself and don't have to wait for someone else to do it. So I figured I'll give it a try, and I got a box. It's from a German company, Death in the London Express, and for I think 6 to 8 people, and I prepared the dinner and everything. I spent way too much money on the whole evening, including getting new dishes, because I figured, hey, for a dinner party I should have, matching dishes. And so I bought fucking dishes for this. Anyway,
it was very pretty from the pictures.
Yeah, it was. It's, thank you. It's so I spent a lot of money, and more than I spent for most board games. And I spent so much time preparing test cooking stuff, and so I invited people over, and the whole time I had no idea how the game actually plays, because I mean the instructions are very bare bone. They are basically, hey, get 8 people together, you need about 4 hours, prepare dinner, and then start. And so I didn't know what to expect, and but yeah, so for people who also think about doing something like that, I just give a short overview how it played, how it worked. In the following conversation, one of the players had played something like that before, and they mentioned some things that were different there. So your mileage may vary when you get a murder mystery set. But basically, every player got a booklet for their character, and or on the backside, there's like a timeline of important events that was given by the detective. The detective is basically introduced via voice messages. So there is a CD in the box. You can also get the MP3 files from the website. And so at certain points in the game, it just tells you, hey, now play this track. And then basically the detective comes over and tells the group about some new developments in the case. And at the beginning, there's like, hey, the rules of the game, basically, you aren't allowed to freely peruse your booklet, but only read until it says stop. And then there are several rounds, and each round you can go further in your book. And also, you are not allowed to lie. You are allowed to deflect and stuff like that. But if you are specifically asked a thing, you cannot lie. You can try to talk around it, but if someone tries to nail you to it, you have to tell the truth.
Look over there!
So, did you kill them? Well, have we talked about the political situation nowadays? Then there is a short description of your character and the secret of your character. Each character has a dark secret they don't want the others to know. And of course, all the dark secrets get revealed during the game. Otherwise, it wouldn't be fun. And then it starts with the introduction round, where every player basically reads something. So the introduction is pre-written. And each round starts with a pre-written dialogue between characters. So you read these dialogues in your roles. And then every player has has tasks they are supposed to do in the round. They are basically like advices, like, hey, try to figure out what this character has done at this time, or this round someone might zone in on this detail about your past. You can try to deflect by pointing there. And so there are like these hints for you and stuff you should try to figure out each round. And it plays over 3 rounds, and then there is the final finale.
Yeah, finale.
Yeah. So basically, everyone, all the information is on the table, and so everyone tries to figure out who is the actual killer. And in our case, it was so the conductor of the train was killed, and no, not the conductor. The person who checks your tickets, is it the conductor?
Yeah, yes, the conductor. Yeah.
Okay, great. So the conductor got killed.
I remembered finale is acceptable, but it's a French word that's often used, which is denouement.
I have never heard that before. But
and in France, we have a conductor in a train and a controller.
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, yeah.
So the conductor had been murdered.
Yeah, the conductor had been murdered. And interesting about this case is the players don't know they are. So the players that play the character that killed the conductor, they don't know it. So you play through these 3 rounds, and when you turn over your booklet to the finale, there the murderer gets the information that they are actually the murderer, and then everyone has like a last chance to propose who might be the killer and give a defense for themselves, and then everyone takes a guess who the killer is, and then it gets resolved by the detective. And there isn't really like a winner or anything, like, hey, the group guessed correctly or something. No, it's just, hey, everyone can guess, and by the way, it was that person. Overall, it was basically a guided role-playing game. There were some things we had trouble with. Mostly, you get information like piecemeal, and so we had situations where, okay, next round, characters read their task for this round, and suddenly a character behaves completely different because, oh, I didn't know that was my character. So, okay, I'll adapt to it now. And so that's... So sometimes I would have wished to have more information from the start, but I guess for people who are actually completely unfamiliar with role-playing, it's somewhat helpful so they don't get information mixed up or reveal stuff too soon or whatever. So there is like the tension building up. Yeah, I didn't particularly like the resolution at the ending because like the detective declared who the killer is and how they got to this conclusion, and I was like, okay, I'm pretty sure in any court of law that wouldn't hold.
Oh man, that sounds like when you play Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective and you go through all the case and you dig all the clues and you thoroughly investigate all the side threads and everything, and then you answer the questions, and then Sherlock Holmes goes, well, I worked it out in this many moves because I made this absurd logical deduction that you couldn't possibly have made, and you're like, why couldn't you just... No, there's plenty of other ways you could have come to this.
Yeah, I mean, in this case, it does make sense, yeah, but it's like everything's circumstantial, yeah, and so okay, everyone at this table has motive. The murder weapon is missing. There are people that actually saw the dead body and interacted with the dead body, but sure, someone else was it, and so it's yeah. But okay, yeah, it was a very fun evening. I would definitely like to do it again. I wouldn't do so much for it next time. I mean, I actually cooked a 3-course dinner for 8 people, and yeah, so we did it Saturday evening, and Friday the first guests arrived, and I spent Friday and Saturday in the kitchen. And in between, I drove to different train stations to grab my guests from there. And I was pretty beat and very happy when everything was over. So my partner also said that next time I will not do everything alone, and we will do it together.
Yeah.
You bought plates, so it would be a shame not to use them again.
Yep.
But,
Yes.
yeah, people come and bring the dishes. Yeah.
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 So what was it? Hang on, let me check. Yeah. Last January, People Make Games, who are a YouTube channel who cover a wide variety of subjects. They're Shut Up and Sit Down adjacent, as in Chris, who's the front person, also works with Shut Up and Sit Down, or at least did in the past, and Quinton Smith is also in People Make Games. They covered Jubentia, which is very similar to what you're talking about, and it took over China. I don't know if it still is as big as it was, but like 2020, 2022, it was just the biggest thing that was being done. So it's interesting to hear, because when you're describing, I was like, that reminds me of Jubentia, and also it reminds me of playing, I talked about it on a podcast previously, the Alien role-playing game, because when you play the preset narratives, they're broken into acts, and players will get given a card that updates their characters' objectives. And so you may have like the original Alien movie, spoilers for a 40-year-old movie or approaching that, I can't remember. Gone 40, approaching 50-year-old movie. One of the characters turns out to be a murderous android. So that's really cool to see it in a murder mystery. Although I can see why for some people it can be a bit tough. Maybe other versions might like lay the groundwork a bit better, but I can see if somebody from the start was told they're the murderer, it's gonna be hard for them, maybe, unless they're experienced acting or role playing.
Yeah, I as I said, afterwards we talked about it, and one of the players explained in the murder mystery they played before. There was also this "you are not allowed to lie" rule, except one player knew they are the killer, and in their booklet it said "you are allowed to lie." That's kind of interesting. Like, everyone thinks you are not allowed to lie, but the killer knows, hey, I am allowed to lie.
And if they're making stuff up, then they're going to have inconsistencies in their story unless they're really good at keeping it straight, because you don't have as much of a script to follow. I think Juventure does have somebody who can break the rules and lie, and I do think I think that definitely is better, unless I don't know what's like particular when you play, but if there's like scenario where everybody kind of has something sus they have to hide, and a lot more deflection happens, that can work as well. But yeah, it's I've never played one. I'm fascinated by them.
Yeah, I mean, here everyone had a dark secret. The revelations of or the reveal of the dark secret, it was basically pre-scripted, because during the rounds with the tasks the players had, for example, at some point I had the task, hey, you know this character, this and that's very weird about them. Zone in on that. And it actually related to the dark secret. And also every character has a clue, which can be different things, like a letter they got somewhere, or a newspaper article, or one clue was actually kind of weird. Let me just check. Yeah, it's a picture of the purse of one character, and the idea behind it was basically they saw what is in that purse, but the clue is a picture. So it was this very weird situation, like, how did you take a picture? And why did you take a picture of the purse in that situation that you describe? And but okay, yeah, of course they didn't take a picture. They are just described. But so
I would be confused by that.
But maybe what it needs is like part of the front priming is the loading description. Your like the front bit of your character is obsessed with purses and loves to take photos of purses, and you get a bunch of photos of everyone's wallets and purses in your thing, and it's like, don't let anyone else know this is what you do. They might think you're weird, but then
Yeah. Oh, and also it's for 6 to 8 players. It has 8 characters. So obviously there are 2 characters that aren't as important. So I knew from the start that those 2 characters weren't a murderer, just because I prepared everything.
That's called thinking meta.
Yeah. I'm confident that I didn't let it show, though. Actually, so we are only 7 people in the end because one player had car troubles and couldn't come. Luckily, they had one of the not important characters, and the other player who had a not important character actually asked just when we were finished, like, my character was one of the not important ones, right? And I, they figured just from like their how much they were involved in everything, or how little they were involved.
They felt like their character was like a henchman, like in the background, like, yes, this.
Yes.
rather than have anything significant here.
Yeah. So, overall, it was a very nice evening, very fun. I definitely want to do it again with help. And one thing I can definitely say, it always says like, hey, it's planned around a 3-course meal, and you don't need a 3-course meal. The idea they have, like, it's part of the setting, you know, you are in this London Express in the 1930s or something, and or 1920s, and the guests are meeting in the at dinner, and then the detective comes and says, hey, by the way, there was a murder, so please enjoy your dinner while I try to figure out what's happening, and maybe you can talk amongst yourselves. And so that's the setting. But in regards to the actual game, it doesn't matter. I personally thought beforehand, hey, yeah, we play while eating, but everyone else actually said, nah, they want to, eat, and then we continue to play. And when the next course is served, first we basically take a break, eat a course, then play again. So, you can just, present some finger food or snacks or sandwiches or whatever, so people have something to eat meanwhile while you play. And
I guess you said that it says that it plays in 4 hours. I guess that contains the eating time?
Yes, we actually took pretty much exactly 4 hours with eating and playing. So, like one of the first times the time given for a game actually fit perfectly.
It's nice when that happens. I gotta say, I'm a big fan of the old traditional styles of the murder mysteries and things like that. I think it's always a lot of fun. I've been to a bunch of plays for Agatha Christie stuff, like The Mousetrap and similar. Thursday Murder Club is on Netflix at the moment, and if you enjoy that, I would give it a recommendation. It's really good. But also The Residence on Netflix. Yes. That is incredibly good, and it's luckily a self-contained single season because it got cancelled because Netflix cancels everything that's good. But it's still if you've not seen it, Cara, it's fantastic. It's one of the best things I've seen all year.
Okay.
Yeah, and I hope you come back when you've had another one of these and talk to us some more about it, how it unfolded differently with a different story and everything, because I think that's really fun.
I will do. It will probably not happen in the near future, but someday it will.
Yeah. So before we move on, very briefly, I've always liked these murder mystery things. When I was in university, I also worked in a game shop on the weekends, and we sold boxes of those. I have vivid memories of the boxes, but I can't remember the names of them or anything like that. It's really cool to see these even more expanded and updated versions being out there and everything. So that's
Oh yeah,
that's
regarding
fantastic.
box, like fan can't see it because they don't have the camera, but
I'm blind.
this is the box. It's actually kind of big, like a board game, but it's mostly empty. I mean,
How expensive is it?
I think it was like 30 euros. And inside the box is, well, basically this. It's so for each character a small booklet with, I don't know, 10 pages, and one booklet that describes the general how it's played with 12 pages, and then like 8 single pieces of paper with the clues, and 8 invitations, which are also a single piece of paper each, and like small name signs for the table. So I didn't know what to expect. I bought the box, I opened it, and I was pretty stunned that it has this kind of insert that reduces the free space of the box to the space you actually need, and it was very weird.
Yeah, it's frustrating when the box takes up way more space than it needs to. Yeah. I'm starting to click on pages and looking to see if I can find the old murder mysteries. I've just found a whole load of others, including the Rocky Horror Halloween murder mystery game kit. Wow.
I think we need to do a time travel thing.
Yeah.
That was a very nice segue, right?
It was. Yeah. Very well done. That means we've been pushed on through the portal to Audrey's section. So convince me to get Anachrony onto the table. Audrey, tell us all about it.
Yeah, you have never played it, right?
I have opened it up and sorted it all out and looked at it and watched how to play, and then something happened and I didn't have time, so I put it away again. And I haven't had all the expansions. And then I couldn't get the big box, so that's kind of become a thing that I haven't put on the table. Yeah, I'm completely fresh and new. Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, let's go. No pressure. So, speaking of games that do not fit at all the time indicated for gameplay, this is Anachrony. It's written 30 minutes per player on the box. It's going to be more. 45, 1 hour, especially at the start. I'm going to go through components and showing them. Of course, only Cara is going to see it, but it helps. So each player has 2 boards. A small board, which we don't really care about because it gives you a special power and starting resources. Of course, all of these boards have a symmetrical face and an asymmetrical face. So everyone plays on face A or face B, because else there is a time continuum split and it doesn't work. So the small board we don't care about. We are going to look a little bit at the big board. It has 2 halves, a left half and a right half. The left half is basically to handle exosuits and workers, because Anachrony is a worker placement game.
Nice.
So you are going to handle your workers who are tired, who are available, and who have an exosuit available, because you are working in a very dangerous, let's say, Earth. And the people will need exosuit to go on the Earth to actually do stuff. And so the right part is mostly done to put buildings on it. You have basically 4 rows. On each row you can put 3 buildings, and they all have a, let's say, different subtype. Some can allow you to travel through time, some can allow you to gain resources, etc., etc. Because I should have started by that, but I guess I'm tired. The thematic of the game is basically the future. There is a huge asteroid which is coming through towards the Earth. Time travel has been invented. It's possible to send things, people, resources through time, and so humanity is using all they can to basically prepare for having enough resources, having people, and evacuate. So there is a timeline which is done through arrow-like tiles. There are 2 types of them. One of them which is, the asteroid is coming very near, which is basically installed at the middle of the alignment of arrows. 1 arrow represents 1 game turn. And the other arrows, which are basically in, I think, 7 or 9, and they all have triangles on them. Triangles are used to bring things through time from the future. We are going to talk a little bit more about that later. Each player has 6 exosuits, basically just hexagonal small tiles, and a starting pool of workers. Workers will go in an exosuit to do stuff on the planet. Then there is a kind of big command board, which I am unfolding right now, which is where the actions mostly get done. So there are basically 5 different types of action. Mining to get resources. These are just plastic transparent cubes of different colors. This one, it's to do science. Basically, you throw dice and you get a triangle with a certain logo. It makes you score points at the end. That's it. You can recruit more workers, because with more workers you do more stuff. And you can, this is actually the science one, this is projects. Each turn has a special project which you can do and then put on your building zone, and it allows you to do a different, very special action, which is only accessible through the project sometimes. And there is a last point, which is water and converting resources to other resources. Water is very useful because when you want to refresh your workers, you have to spend water. It depends, I think, on the morale that you have, not on the amount of workers. So yeah, that's most of it for the components. So each turn, what you will do is there are 6 spots. The first one is basically advance time. Get to the next arrow tile, prepare the next super project, and refresh some of the available resources. Second is the paradox phase. Basically, if you said, I have imported 1 person and some water from the future, and no one else has already done that, you toss a dice, which is the paradox dice, and it can give you some paradox tokens, which are just with a triangular symbol. Every time you get to 3 paradox tokens, you get an instability, which is basically an extra building that you put in your building zone, which hinders this zone. You cannot put another building on it, and you need to sacrifice resource to take it out. If everyone has the same amount of imports from the future, everyone tosses the dice. So yeah, there is a kind of, if the other players aren't doing it, I'm not sure I want to do it, but at a point you will need to import resources from the future. Then there is the phase of power up. You will use a resource, which is, I think in English, probably something like power cores, to power up the exosuits. If you don't have a power core, you can't power up an exosuit. And that is going to be extremely important. In my opinion, the power cores are the single most important resource in the game. Because you need to put a worker in an exosuit to get them to any location on the main board to do something there. If if you buy buildings that you put on your faction board, you don't need exosuits to do the actions there. But first off, you will need to put workers in an exosuit to go and do the main board actions. That will lead you to buying buildings and then doing more. I mean, it's like any worker placement game that I've known, which is as the game goes by, you get more actions, you get more opportunity, you get more workers that can do the stuff. And the first round can be quite fast because you tend to have 3 or 4 workers and as many power workers. And at the end, you're like, okay, now I have 8 workers and tons of buildings, so I don't need the main board anymore. Maybe. Then there is the vortex phase, which is when you can say, hey, I need something from the future, so I'm going to import it and put a little triangle tile that I have on the arrow to say, I have imported this. Because later down the game, you have to reimburse it. You have to send it back to the future, because else you will keep tossing the paradox dice, first off, and second, at the very end of the game, it's some points loss if you still have some triangles hanging out. And on top of that, if you put, let's say, the triangle for an exosuit, because yes, you can also import an exosuit from the future, and that's very useful because it's already powered up. As long as you have this triangle exosuit tile on the arrow tile, you cannot import another exosuit from the future. Because the tile is used. There is one tile for each type of resource. So this needs thinking, and I think this, let's say, importing from the future handling thing is the core of understanding the game and getting to really master it. Because being able to calculate the actions you want to do, and thus the resources that you don't have and that you need. That's a thing that I personally always struggle with, so that's a game that forces me to do that, and I think it's very good for my brain to learn that. But I think that's really the core of the mechanic of the game, being able to identify this point. And then, also, knowing when it's the right time to refund the things. Because if you import something at the second turn, let's say that, and you get to the 5th turn, and you have time machines, basically the yellow building, that can only back in time to 2 turns. You can't refund that turn 2 things because you are at turn 5, so the farthest back that you can go is turn 3 and not turn 2. So you really have to think about that, and I think it's very, very interesting. So yeah, next there is the action turn, which is basically, oh, I have this exosuit that I put on the main board and I do the action and I get the resources. This is, I don't think this needs explanation as it's the basic of any worker placement game. Or you say, oh, I have this worker without an exosuit, so I put it, I put the worker in that building and do the action of that building. So all the players do that until every players have passed. There is no, like for instance in Everdell, a player can go into the next phase while the others are still in the previous phase. No. Everyone is at the same time frame. And then there is, oh, how is it called in English? Entretien. Upkeep phase, where you bring your workers back and you handle them, because there are 4 types of workers. Engineers, scientists, managers, and genius. And some of them have, let's say, affinities for certain actions. If you, let's say, send a manager to recruit someone, I think they don't come back tired, so you can reuse them already. Or if you send, let's say, an engineer to mine, he doesn't get back tired. That's the thing. The managers, they are the main one to recruit, basically. So they all have special affinities for special actions. Like, yeah, the manager does the recruitment, does the refreshing of the people. The engineer can do better than others building and mining, and the scientist is a little bit better to transmute resources, transform them into each other. And the genius, they can do any action unrestricted. Some actions are restricted in worker type, but they do not get any other bonuses. So there is also that little part of work into, yeah, am I going to focus on buildings? Yes, if so, I may need more engineers. Am I going to focus on being able to transform resources as I get them? Yeah, I will need scientists. So there is this element. Once the timeline has reached the area with the asteroid, the main board changes a little bit. There is a small board which is added on top of it, just at the very top. It's a very small extra tiles that basically says there is an action which is evacuate, and each player, depending on their faction, has different, let's say, pre-requirements to actually say, I can evacuate. That gives you more victory points. Um, that's mostly it for this extra addition, and the main board locations get either powered up or some slots get absolutely lost when this happens. So you have to rethink a little bit about the actions. It changes a little bit, and I really like this fact that it does feel like a race. A little bit, because you get these extra bonuses or this fight for locations because you can't go there anymore because it's not available, etc. The main board has two sides. One of them is for 2 or 3 players, and one of them is for 4 players. It does feel a little bit tighter at 3 people than at 2. Of course, that's the very obvious. I haven't played at 4 players yet, so I can't really speak about that. But when I played one game 2 players and one game 3 players, that's it so far. But I kind of liked the tightness that was when we were 3 players. I'm not. I think you know me enough to know that I'm not a player that loves confrontation games too much. But this thing of, oh, this spot that I wanted to do was taken. Now, what can I change to still do what I want? It's something that I enjoy much better, and I think that with 3 players, it really works well. And so basically, at the end of the game, you have a salad point. You count the points that you scored with some actions that give you points tokens. If you have the science things with rounds and squares and triangles, the combinations give you extra points. That's a classic. The projects that you can do, they give you extra actions, as I said, but they can also give you some points. If you have anomalies, buildings on your board, you lose points. There is a morale. There is a counter which increases every time you do send back something through time. So it's also something that encourages you to do that. Because the first time you do it, you gain 2 points. Well, every extra time you do it, it's 2 extra points. So if you do try and send back things through time 2, 4, 5, 6 times, you get 16 extra points. So yeah, the game really encourages you to do that. You have morale that can give you as well points or take back. And a few more things if you still have some resource triangles left on the arrow. So yeah, you have many different ways to score points. I think the last time we played, so we were my husband, a friend and I, and c'est qui avait gagné? We did ex aequo, yeah. My husband and I did ex aequo, and we had very different strategies. Um, I didn't mention it yet because it was not very, let's say, interesting, but there are also cards that basically says the player who has the most water at the end of the game gets some extra points, and we did score very different in these objectives. I didn't do any super project. He did, I think, 2. I did much more time travel than he did, etc. So very, very different, and I think that is something that's good in all worker placement game where it is there. It's that you can always do something, and you always gain something through what you do. And I think in Anachrony, it really hits that spot where, yes, there is always something to do, there is always something to gain from what you do, and you can always rethink about what your plans are, what changes, and I think it does feel dynamic, and I really like that. I bought the 2 expansions that exist so far in French. I do not have the big box, so it's going to be a mess to store. Um, so I'm
It
looking
is.
for
It really is. Yeah.
yeah, I'm looking forward to freeing a spot in my Kallax because I finally looked into selling my Tainted Grail stuff since we finished it. So I will have a spot free in the Kallax, and grouping up all the Anachrony boxes definitely my first goal when I come back from selling the game. So yeah, that's it about Anachrony rules gameplay. I think I would definitely recommend the 3 or 4 players more than 2, unless it's really going for a learning experience. You can go for a learning experience at 2, but I think the mechanics get a bit crunchy with 3 or 4 players. And yeah, we haven't looked yet too much into the asymmetric parts. So we played with let's say the same resources at the start, mostly same boards. For instance, the costs of the buildings could be different with different sides, things like that. But we still had each one a different faction. So my husband just brought me the expansions, which are Future Imperfect and Fractures of Time. Thank you very much. And the boxes, they don't have the same size.
Yeah, they don't. Not at all.
Yeah, which is very annoying. One of them looks to have the same footprint as the core box, but the other one doesn't. Differences in height I could do with, but differences in surface, that's annoying. So yeah, I give that game a very solid 8.5, 8.7. I really like the fact that I'm not going to say it's a difficult game, but it's one of those games where you play a game and you say, yeah, okay, I haven't tried that. I'd like to try it next time, maybe. And this seems powerful, and I went a little bit past it. And then you play the second game, you try it, and maybe you'll say, oh, actually it sucks, or you'll say, wow, I should have done it before. And I think that it starts to shine at the second game. And I don't know if this would be, let's say, reflective of the experience that I could get with a Lacerda game or not. Maybe I'm completely wrong, but I'm like, if this is how a Lacerda game feels like, I want a Lacerda game first, and then
Yeah.
I'm glad to have this as a step towards it. When we played the 3-player game, the other guy was a first time, and we still played 2.5 hours.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. If you want to go into Lacerda games, I would recommend staying away from En Mars to start with. That's an amazing game, but you have to relearn it almost every time you go and play it.
Sadly, it's our favorite theming.
Then I will say it is worth the effort, but be aware that there will be a fair amount of you need to play it a bunch of times in a decent period to click. Yeah. Unlike the Gallerist or Vinos, those ones are more accessible. Kanban's actually really accessible as well once you realise it's not about making cars, it's about being efficient about making cars.
Yeah, I think maybe Kanban could be an alternative.
I like Kanban, yeah.
There is also another expansion for Anachrony, which is basically miniatures of the exosuits, but I don't care for that.
That was what I was going to ask, if you had the miniatures or not.
It just takes place.
I can tell you that they're the thing which I've played with the most, when you just fit the little worker in the top, in the slot, and take them out again. And I don't know why, but that's really, really fun.
I'm not sure I would call that
You don't
fun.
need them.
Maybe
No,
tedious.
it's fun. No, it's fun. It's a toy. Hey, I've
Yeah,
got
true.
I've got a Grimlock Magic the Gathering card which requires you to transform a transformer to flip him to his other side. So I'm all for stupid, pointless toys in the middle of a game.
My husband has a D20 that turns into a dragon, but I don't know how to do it. So I just have a D20.
I mean, you've got a D20 with the potential of a dragon inside. That's pretty cool by itself. Yeah. You know, I will attack you with my D20.
So yeah, I'm very happy I bought Anachrony. I don't know if I already talked about Apiary or not. I do prefer Anachrony as it's a bit more crunchy.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think the potential is really beyond.
Yeah, the designer, David, and I will mangle his surname, David Turtsey, I think is, or Turksey. He's brilliant. He did Voidfall, Nucleum, Imperium, Classics, Imperium Legends. It's definitely worth if you enjoy it. And he did a lot of work on ANZ stuff, so if you enjoy Anachrony, it's worth researching to see the games he's done, because he's just a brilliant designer. Not just mechanically, but thematically as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I really like in Anachrony how things really combine together.
Yeah. I haven't like played Anachrony. I've seen people play it. I've watched the videos, and it does look really satisfying. And his games always have a crunch I really like. So yeah, if I didn't already own it, I probably would have picked it up after you talking about it. As it is, I now need to figure out how to fit it into my schedule to like do some learning games, and I can't play this with the in-laws. So it might have to wait until the next time my friends visit, because they like these really crunchy games. Yeah. I imagine it's on Tabletop Simulator or whatnot. That's an idea. Yeah, you could probably walk me through it then, and I click better with just by playing rather than reading rule books. So yeah, that's something to. Cool. Maybe that's something we can do in the future then. Yeah. All right. That's Anachrony, which I will say. The one issue with it is availability is a bit spotty at the moment. Like the main game tends to be available. The expansions seem to go in and out of availability. There was a window back in February where like the big box was available. I couldn't afford to order it then, and it's back unavailable now. So don't have a collector's mind if you go after this one. But
I mean, the German version is available, the bundle with base game, 3 expansions, and the miniatures for €246.51. That's a lot.
That's a lot, but that's also the advantage of playing in a language that isn't English. You don't have to compete with a bigger market. Yeah. Okay. Right. Well, that is just about all we have time for. So we've been The Last Standee. Thank you very much for listening. I've been Fen, and goodbye from Cara.
Bye.
Goodbye from Audrey.
Bye.
And the second E in Standee stands for something that I can't be bothered to think about because I'm getting tired of this bit. Exclusive. There we go. Web store exclusive. Exosuit. Oh, there you go. Exosuit. And don't bother editing that to make it sound better. Let's just leave all of this in. And the second E in Standee stands for exosuit. There we go.